Good morning, y'all. Welcome to the channel, Off Grid with the Mohats. I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's been on my mind for the last couple of years. Everybody I talk to wants to move off grid. Everybody I tell that we live off grid on 36 acres tells me, man, I sure want to do this. I would love to live off grid. I would love to move out to the country. But it's just not that easy, guys. Okay? So I'm going to give you some tips on how you can make that a reality, how I did it, and give you some steps, on how to manifest that. So versus just having a thought or a wish or a fantasy, we can make that a reality. Okay? First off, living off grid is not easy. Okay? There's lots of challenges, lots of things that just come up. You're going to need money for it. Okay? I remember sitting behind a desk for years and years wondering how the hell did people do it. So, how did I do it? Well, when I was working, I had a vision board. Okay? My vision board included this right here. That RV right there on my bathroom wall. I used to wake up, get ready for work, and I used to look at that vision and think someday I'm going to own an RV. Okay? Because you got to have a place to live. I wasn't necessarily thinking off grid, living in the land, enjoying this beautiful territory. But after a couple years of visioning this RV, we ended up pulling the trigger and making that a reality. So we started taking trips, we started going on vacation, and just enjoying the life of, vacationing, boondocking, learning a little bit about, camping and what it is to be off grid. So that was step number one. Number two was finding a piece of land. So back in 2020, that's what we did. When everybody was on lockdown, we drove around looking for land because we couldn't communicate with anyone, we couldn't talk to anyone, but we could get in our car and we can go drive around, look at land. So that's what we did. We didn't stay home. We found this 36 acres, beautiful up here. We're up in Williams, Arizona, northern Arizona. It's about 65 degrees right now. It's 117 in the valley. And we just fell in love with it. We probably looked at 10 pieces of land before we actually found one that felt right. So don't go online, don't go on Zillow and just start, pulling the trigger on these pieces of property. Okay, you got to go out to the property and you got to look at it and you got to feel it out. The kids got to like it. Has to feel right. Okay, so we bought this 36 acres for $35,000 back in 2020 when the pandemic was in full swing. Okay, how we did that was we put half down and we did what's called, seller finance. So, 16.5 is what we put down. The other half was $200 a month for 2 years. Okay. And actually it's about $500 if I recall. For 2 years we paid and we finally got the deed to the land. Okay. We thought right away, we're going to buy a modular home. We're going to put it on there. We're going to get our septic, get our water, this and that. But the reality was God didn't have a plan for us at that time. So it fell through. Okay, we sat on this property. I ended up buying these storage containers here and a water tank. And basically, that was our off-grid property at the time. We were still living in Glendale, Arizona. So we've always had a vision and dream after we bought the land to live off-grid. We wanted to buy, build a house, and we wanted to, move the kids up here, get them out of this city, live that more surreal life, which we've now made a reality. Okay. We've been on this land living in the RV for about a month now. Okay. But leading up to that, we moved out September of 2024. Okay. It's now July 2nd of 2025. So it's been almost a year since we've been out of our home living in the RV. Okay. We wouldn't have been able to make this possible without some sort of income. Okay, so the last 17 years I spent building residual income that pays every single month, and it's allowed us to save up money to be able to, retire my wife. I do tractor jobs on the side. I don't know if you can see my tractor down there, but I'll show that to you in another video. So number one is you got to have some sort of income coming in. I hear more horror stories about how people get out here. They don't have any jobs. They don't have any work. They don't have any money. And, the transmission in their Jeep went out. It's $3,500. They don't have the money to fix it. They can't get around. They can't do this. They can't do that. And it's frustrating to watch. So number one, you got to have some sort of income, whether it's a work from home or a travel job or side gigs or something. You got to have money. It's not just live off the grid and just think everything is free, everything is cheap. No, everything breaks down, everything costs money, and it's not going to be easy. So keep that in mind, guys. If you're sitting behind your desk and you're wondering, man, how do these people do it where they can live peacefully on their land in an RV? Well, it's not that easy, guys. I don't want to ruin your dream, but you got to start somewhere. So that's the key. You got to start looking for a job that you can work remotely. You're still going to have to work your butt off to have income coming in every single month to pay for things. Okay, it's not like free out here. So get that out of your head. Okay, it's not going to be easy. You may have to make a shift in your income or your job or something like that. So number two is you got to be prepared for the worst, because in one of my previous videos, we were living in an RV where we were on full hookups and it was snowing. It was our first winter living in the RV. Now, we had lived down in the valley in the RV in the summertime and we survived the heat, which I don't know how we did, but we did. But living in the camper in the winter is a different animal. Okay, you pretty much freeze to death. So if you don't got your heaters, you don't have your electricity hooked up, you don't have power, it's just not going to work. You're going to freeze. So that's number two. We were on full hookups for 6 months living in an RV park in town while you were waiting for the permits. We were waiting for all the things that go into building a house out here on the land. Okay, so that's what we've been doing. We've been sacrificing. We could have rented a home. We could have spent $2,000 on a home and rented and lived in an apartment, or rented a modular or something like that and spent a few $1,000s a month in expenses. But we chose to save our money by living in an RV with the kids, putting them in school, and going through those struggles so that we could have something in the end. So you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot of it, actually. It's not just all, playtime. So you got to have income. You got to have a vision. You got to buy some land somewhere, go out and look at it. Most banks aren't going to finance your land. You're going to have to put down half collateral. I've seen acres, 2 acres out here for $7,000, right? So if you got 3,500 bucks saved up, you can get into an acre or 2 acres, 10 grand saved up. You can do it, but you got to start somewhere. So that's what I would recommend. Get your income straight. Start looking for properties. Higher the elevation, the cooler it gets, the less utilities you're going to need to stay warm, to stay cool, and save your money and make it a reality. This is a 5-year project for us that we've been envisioning on how to get off grid. So we finally made it. We've been here off grid on our land, living full time for about a month now. We decided to save the $1,300 bucks in rent that we were paying at the RV spot to have full hookups. So during the day, we run the generator a couple hours to stay cool. To cook, we've got batteries. To keep our fridges running, we've got batteries. We got a couple solar panels that are hooked up that keeps everything kind of nice and cool as far as refrigeration goes, because that's another story. But that's about it, guys. Stay tuned. Off grid with the Mohats. We got Mohats in anybody, and I'd love to teach you more. So love you guys, and we'll talk to you on the next video.